Okay, it is my pleasure and honor at this point to introduce to you the president of ISSLS. I've been working on collecting photos and information about Jim for the last year, and the goal was to really get to know Jim Kang and share that information with you. But I must say that I run into some significant obstacles in getting some good pictures. I asked photos to be sent to me from his wife, and these are what I got. Golf ball, weightlifter. Was she hiding something? So I had to dig deeper, and so I went to Google, and this is the first thing that I found on Jim Kang. So was Jim a criminal in his past? Looking at this photo, you know, he's a muscular man, just like Jim, but no, I don't think that was him. So continued on the search, and there was another picture of Jim Kang. I mean, this is really Jim Kang. You guys do the Google search and you'll find him out there somewhere. Is that him? Well, after much digging, I did find some pictures of him. This is Jim Kang. He is one of 4 children born in Korea. He's the 3rd one. That's the guy right there. You want a close-up view of his face? There he is. And so he was born in Korea. And his father worked for the Korean embassy in Washington, D.C. for a period of time. But for some reason that I still don't understand, they decided to move to Oklahoma. Now, maybe you guys don't understand Oklahoma, but generally we consider that flyover country in the United States. Kind of rural, you know, maybe a little bit behind what the coast. So, Jim grew up in Oklahoma and really assimilated to the culture of Oklahoma. You know, and he really partook of all what was available to him. You know, this is the Oklahoma swimming pool. There he spent a lot of his summers, you know, hanging out with his friends. You know, he's very athletic and enjoying the, you know, the Oklahoma sports of mud diving. Then eventually he left Oklahoma and went to University of Washington University, where he got a chemical engineering degree. And then, but he went back to Oklahoma. The pull was very strong, and there he finished his medical school there. Now this photo down there, these are all fake photos actually, because his wife wouldn't send me any of his real photos. His family scattered throughout the United States, brother in Boston, his parents' sister in Texas, and another brother in California. Then he went to University of Pittsburgh for his orthopedic residency, where he was trained under James Herndon, who many of you might know is a very accomplished orthopedic surgeon who went on to become a chairman at Harvard. And was a big influence on Jim. Jim also trained with Christopher Evans, who was a world-class basic science researcher using gene therapy, and was also had a Harvard connection at one point after Pittsburgh. And if you keep that in mind, you might see what happens to Jim later on in his career as well. He then had a clinical spine fellowship in 1991 at the Tokyo Women's University. Now this piece of information is very well hidden and had to do a lot of research to get this out. I'm not quite sure what he did there, you know, Tokyo Women's Medical Center. Then he did a spine fellowship with Henry Bowman. And the surgeons out there know that Hank Bowman was an incredible icon in the spinal surgery world in the United States, and has trained many of the top surgeons in the U.S. And so he spent a year with Henry at Case Western. Then he went back to Pittsburgh, where he's worked for most of his career. and rose to a tenured professor, was the director of the Ferguson Laboratory, and was the co-chair of the department for a long time. Now, Jim, seeing all the research that he's done, you might think that he was not a busy surgeon, but in fact he's one of the busiest surgeons in the country, and he's kind of tries to keep this hidden that he does over 600 cases a year, and is well regarded as one of the top surgeons in the United States. So then, looking through his CV, I came into kind of difficulty here because his list of awards just keep going on and on and on and on and on. So I decided to just show you the length of his awards, but to just summarize some of the key things that are relevant to ISSLS. He's won the Volvo Award twice. Back when it was called the Volvo Awards. Once for basic science and one for clinical research. And also has been part of the ISSLS Prize, which the Volvo has become. So 3 of these. He's also known by his residents and peers to be an excellent teacher. He's won the Golden Apple Award for resident education at least twice. There might have been more because his list was so long that I couldn't quite be sure that I captured all of his teaching accolades and responsibilities. I've actually trained some of Jim's residents as a fellow in my institution. I've asked about him, and they tell me amazing things about him, that he's a great teacher and so on and so forth, but many of them consider him a terrible role model because they just can't come close to what he does. So that's kind of a discouraging point at some points. Now, Jim has multiple, this incredible publication list of over 200 peer-reviewed publications and over 200 non-peer-reviewed, 8 patents, 350 presentations, probably more that he probably hasn't had time to put on his list. Over 50 books and book chapters. Currently, Jim is the chair of one of the Harvard hospitals at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Just like the 2 mentors in his life that I told you about, he seemed to be drawn to Harvard and maybe to women's hospitals. But he's been there now since September of 2015, and has just an illustrious career in clinical research, as well as basic science research, and you guys are all aware of his work in disc degeneration, biology, and gene therapy. But despite having such an incredibly productive academic career, he's had a very full family life. His wife, Ruby, he has 3 children, 2 boys, 1 girl. They've grown up now quite a bit. And in fact, his daughter had a graduation, and in order to make it to our meeting, he had to skip part of the graduation ceremonies for his daughter, and that's why his family is not with him today. So, as you know, Jim is a big-time golfer. He's a low single-digit handicapper. And he's into lifting weights. I think that's why his wife sent me that picture there. Actually, that was a picture that I took in Korea. It's not sent by his wife. But I saw that picture and I asked to have it.
Hey, we just wanted to say congratulations and offer our love and support. We're sorry we can't be with you there in Singapore. Just didn't work out with Jenny's graduation. But we want to congratulate you and let you know how proud we are of you and that we love you so much. Congratulations!
See ya! Bye, Dad.
Ladies and gentlemen, the president of ISSLS 2016.
How do I top that? Thank you, Tim. And guess you can put up my slides. Now, video was quite a surprise, so thank you very much, Tim. I really appreciate that. So first, Mr. Secretary, fellow ISSLS members, family, and distinguished guests, I'm humbled and honored to stand here as your 42nd president of our great International Society for Study of the Lumbar Spine. I fully realize the magnitude of the moment, especially in following the footsteps of our past presidents who were pioneers and tremendous contributors to the society. My first ISSLS meeting, which I attended, was in Helsinki, Finland, back in 1995. As is the case with most of us in the audience, this meeting was transformative, especially for a young academic surgeon like me. I vividly recall the lively discussions led by Alf Knoppensen and other giants in the field, and how surgeons, physiatrists, rheumatologists, radiologists, epidemiologists, biologists, and bioengineers all seemed intimately engaged in trying to better understand the art and science that is the lumbar spine. There was something more to ISSLS than what I had experienced at any other academic meetings. In retrospect, as I ponder over what that was, I now believe it was simply the level of quality. More about this topic on quality later. But let me first acknowledge and thank those who have helped, supported, guided, and mentored me through this journey. I've gotten to know most, if not all, of the prior past ISSLS presidents since I began to attend the meetings, and they have all been outstanding role models and a great inspiration for me to emulate. I must first thank and give tribute to the late Dr. Henry Bowman, who passed away 6 years ago. He was the first to encourage me to attend ISSLS and become an active participant. He fueled my competitive interest in telling me, Jim, if you work hard and become scientifically productive, ISSLS may let you in someday. He set a very high bar in spine surgery and leaves behind a legacy of having trained many, if not most, of the academic spine surgeons in the U.S. I must also thank my colleagues, residents, fellows, students, and friends from the University of Pittsburgh, where I spent almost 30 years as a resident in training, and then on to a career in academic spine surgery. A very special thanks to my colleagues and scientific investigators, as well as the wonderful support staff who I have worked with in the Ferguson Laboratory, where most of my research efforts in disc biology and biomechanics were performed. Special shout out to Nam Bose here and Gwen Soa, who couldn't be here, and also to my former chairman of the department, Dr. Jim Herndon and Freddie Fu, who gave me all the opportunities to be successful in Pittsburgh. Without their collective efforts and all of their help, I would not be standing here as the president of ISSLS, nor would I have been recently recruited to the chair of orthopedic surgery at the Brigham and Women's Hospital and Harvard Medical School. Last but certainly not the least, I wish to thank my family who perhaps had the greatest influence and contributions to my success. I thank my parents who brought us to the U.S. in 1967 in order to find better opportunities for my siblings and me. They provided the moral compass and the work ethic in us for success. I want to thank my 3 children, Robert, Jennifer, and Thomas, we just saw on video, who have turned out to be great, compassionate human beings, and in the end, my only true legacy. I am so proud to be your father. Finally, I want to thank my lifelong partner, Ruby, for the 26 years of marital bliss and the unconditional support you provided as a wonderful wife and mother. I now want to go back on point to the topic of quality, which I felt was synonymous with business. It is a topic that is worth pondering over since it permeates every fabric of our lives, from art to cars to scientific research. It is something we humans innately know once we see it, smell it, hear it, taste it, touch it, and experience it. We will often pay excess for it, and mediocrity is its worst enemy. I'm not referring to the often used term quality of life, which has connotations of living with a certain level of material means and indulging in peaceful activities that make one happy. I'm referring more to the bare essence of quality and how it should make all of us aspire philosophically to attain it in all aspects of our lives. The title of my speech is paraphrased from the book The Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which was written by Robert Pirsig, first published in 1974. I recall reading this book in the summer after graduating high school and thinking that there's something very important being written about here. I was too young to fully grasp all the concepts, but in retrospect, and having reread it decades later, I believe it to be a book that had a major impact on my life and took a hold of my subconscious. It is a story told during a motorcycle trip across the country taken by the author Pirsig and his son. But there is a philosophical musing intermixed with a biography of a person named Phaedrus, who originally developed the ideas put forth in this book. The story of Phaedrus is the most engrossing part of this book. His mixture of obsessiveness, mental disconnection, disrespect for accepted academic authority, and creative approaches to both philosophy and teaching make him a true tragic hero. As the reader keeps turning the pages and find out what happens next, he or she is drawn into the discussion of philosophy that dominates and saturates Phaedrus' life. Although not explicitly stated, it's later learned that Phaedrus is indeed the author Pirsig, in his earlier years pondering over the issue of quality prior to his nervous breakdown. At the heart of Zen and art of motorcycle maintenance is Phaedrus' quest to understand something that he refers to as quality. He has found that rational divisions of the world into the subjective and objective spheres do not appropriately encompass human experience. After years of obsessive and often tormented study, Phaedrus derives a new philosophy to solve his dissatisfaction. He places the subjective and objective realms in subordination to a new concept, which he terms quality. In this configuration, quality is the overarching entity that allows thinkers to perceive in terms of the subjective and the objective in the first place. Phaedrus later realizes that his quality is the same as Lao Tzu's Tao. Ultimately, however, quality is less a religious entity than it is a more robust means of understanding the world. The book's discrete lectures and lessons, called Chautauquas, are largely discourses on quality, and they aim to teach what quality is and encourage the reader to pursue it. Pirsig uses these Chautauquas to demonstrate how quality can manifest itself even in the proper practice of motorcycle maintenance. He elaborates several phenomena, such as stuckness, that can foster innovative insights, the gumption, that fuels sustained work of quality, and the gumption traps that can prevent an individual from developing an awareness of and sensitivity to quality. Under this context of quality, how does this apply to us in medicine, science, and spine? What can we learn from our own Chautauquas? Let's first examine quality in scientific research, a topic that our great society is deeply engaged in. In fact, in research, the stuckness that Pirsig refers to is nothing more than a scientific question that we ponder over, which allows us to develop innovative methodologies to achieve quality answers. Most of us in this room also have the gumption that he also refers to that fuels this line of research. We have all experienced that pivotal manuscript or scientific study that exudes quality, and after careful review, we fully embrace the findings and conclusions with very little skepticism. We have all listened to the podium presentation, which we fully recognize as being transformative. In essence, when we select the Volvo Award and ISSLS prize papers, we are doing nothing more than recognizing the study that demonstrates the greatest quality. On the contrary, it's more often than not that we tend to experience those scientific studies which seem to lack quality. There are seemingly many reasons for this, but they involve deficiencies in both subjective and objective realms. For example, poor conceptual questions and hypotheses, lack of technical expertise and methodology, overgeneralization of the findings and conclusions, just to name a few. When we review a study that is high quality, most of us can immediately experience the Zen of spine research. During surgical training, we surgeons all realize that there are those mentors and role models that perform and teach the art of surgery to the highest quality. Watching a master surgeon perform a delicate surgical procedure, such as spine surgery, is both inspiring and emotionally lifting, especially when a patient is cured of his or her ailment. To obtain the highest quality outcome, the surgeon must have rigorous scientifically proven indications, understand the human emotional impact of the disease on the patient, perform the technical aspect of the surgery with great refinement, and then follow the patient over many years to really understand the long-term outcomes. This is precisely the reason that surgery can never be fully objectified and should always remain in the realm of art. We as teachers, researchers, and educators of spine surgery should also have the highest quality mentoring and teaching this art, thereby being a role model for the future generations of our trainees. In the realm of spine care, the concept of quality can take many forms. It can take the form of a spine surgeon practicing the art as mentioned previously, but also take a but it can also take on non-operative care by physicians and health professionals providing compassionate care based on evidence-based medicine. Care that is based on scientific principles as well as available clinical outcomes data should be considered to be the highest quality for our patients. High-quality care does not necessarily mean greater resource or utilization by patients and providers. In the US, there's been a recent movement towards a quote-unquote value-based medicine, which implies that the health system should incentivize those institutions and providers that achieve good clinical patient outcomes relative to the cost of achieving them. There's an underlying tone that spending more money on medical treatment does not necessitate a good clinical outcome. Such seems to be the case for the state of health economics in the US, where more money is spent per capita than any other developed countries. Yet, the various metrics for the population's general health is far from it. Rather than focusing on the traditional volume-based medicine that incentivizes capitalistic behavior in the fee-for-service market, value-based medicine will look for cost-effective treatments that demonstrate good quality outcomes. This is nothing more than a society's awakening of trying to achieve a level of quality in healthcare management. Although striving for and achieving a state of quality is seemingly the ideal, there may be instances whereby conflicts may arise. A major concern with the so-called value-based medicine previously mentioned is that it may conflict with the educational efforts in training young physicians in art of surgery. In society's attempt to achieve the best quality of care for its population, there will be no doubt an impact on our current educational training process for the future physicians and surgeons. The new value-based medicine emphasizes efficiency and cost containment, along with good clinical outcomes, and de-emphasizes the volume concept. Unfortunately, those of us in academia know full well that the educational process of a physician and surgeon directly conflicts with achieving maximal efficiency and cost containment during a medical encounter. A spine surgeon can be much more efficient and less costly if the attending surgeon does not allow the trainee to be engaged in the experience. Teaching the art of medicine takes time and effort, which is unfortunately not truly accounted for in the true value-based medicine concept. There's an old adage that practice makes perfect. And in the case for surgical training, this is a key principle that is part of achieving the highest quality education for our trainees. There's concern that surgical training will take even longer to allow our trainees to achieve a level of proficiency to graduate. I think even Persick would agree that the art of motorcycle maintenance can be better achieved by someone who has more practice or more volume in the art. As we strive to achieve a level of quality as physicians and researchers in the art of spine maintenance, I believe there are certain gumption traps that Percy refers to in our discipline. By his definition, these so-called traps prevent an individual from developing an awareness of and sensitivity to quality. These traps can take on many forms, but one of the largest traps, in my estimation, is that of conflicts of interest. In my field of spine surgery, there have been many such examples of conflicts of interest which have led to controversial debates and emotional arguments between friends over industry-supported clinical studies. These conflicts of interest have been present since Hippocrates. But in the era of medicine being big business, we must pay particular attention to the erosive effects of conflicted research studies that affect quality patient care and safety. Full disclosure and transparency is now demanded and expected. However, there still exists the possibility of subconscious bias when studies are being designed and implemented by conflicted surgeons and researchers. In my opinion, we should all strive to be free of such conflicts if possible, but if not, it should be incumbent on us to recuse ourselves from such studies that may impact patient care. This is not a call for stopping all innovative research which collaborates with industry, since I sincerely believe that orthopedic and spine care have significantly improved over the past several decades for the betterment of our patients. However, when substantial financial remuneration has been transacted, one must have the insight to recuse oneself to avoid the negative optics of bias. This finally leads to the bare essence of quality and its relationship with the individual's character in searching for the truth. Those individuals, researchers, scientists, physicians, surgeons, and others, who display the highest degree of character generally live by striving for quality in all aspects of their lives. These individuals are not encumbered by the Gumption traps, or is at least fully cognizant of them to carry out their life plan both personally and professionally with the highest level of quality attainable. For those of us who are physicians, I often quote the late Dr. Albert Ferguson Jr., who was a great mentor to many orthopedic surgeons. He was noted to be quoted as saying, "Do the right thing. Just take good care of your patients and they will take care of you." This epitomizes how simple it can be, but also exemplifies how there are so many other distractions in our lives that can interfere with quality. In closing, I wish to thank the Executive Committee and all the ISSLS committees for their tireless volunteer work on behalf of the Society. I also wish to thank Executive Director Katerina for her tireless work on behalf of our Society, since we all know that ISSLS would not be a well-organized, high-quality society without her. A special thanks to a mentor, friend, colleague, and former president of ISSLS, Dr. Ed Hanley, who constantly encouraged me to be a leader and provided a moral compass for all to emulate. Finally, I would like to thank each of you, the membership, for bestowing on me the honor of serving as your 42nd president. I look forward to continuing to serve the Society in other capacities and to watching us reach even higher level of quality that the International Society of the Lumbar Spine can attain. Thank you.
That's the end of this session, and on to lunch.